Okay, hello everyone. We are back. We are here with our next panel as part of the IFRC Annual Research Symposium. So for those of you who haven't joined us yet, we're just to help situate you. We are streaming to YouTube live from ForSpace, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Here at ForSpace, we work with our university community to mobilize knowledge by co-creating daily activities, to examine research questions and projects in development here at the university. We are running today's event as a live stream Zoom meeting, so for those of you joining us here, we welcome your comments and questions with a raised hand or via the chat. And for those of you in the space, if you'd like to participate, please just let us know by raising a hand and we'll be sure to get a microphone to you. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Hans-Lou Torres, the IFRC Research Coordinator. Hans, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Hans-Lou Torres. I'm from Cusco, Peru, and I am the research coordinator for the Indigenous Futures Research Center. And I'm so pleased to be here. I'm sitting with Skawennati, and we're going to have a two-part panel today that is presented by AppTech Gallery. The first part of the panel will be about AppTech Gallery, and then the second part will bring in emerging artists to talk about this concept of res futures. But we'll get started with AppTech Gallery and unpacking all that it is. So I'm going to start by introducing Skawennati. Skawennati makes art that addresses history, the future, and change. Her machinima and machinimagraphs, which are movies and still images made in virtual environments, as well as sculptures and textiles, have been presented nationally and internationally. Akanyenge Haga of Ganawage, residing in Montreal, she co-directs Aboriginal Territories and Cyberspace and is a director of AppTech Gallery. So welcome, Skawennati.
Wagoa. Thank you all.
Okay, so we'll get started and just unpack it. What is AppTech Gallery? How did it begin? What are its origins?
Well, first, I just want to say Nyawa to you specifically, Hans-Lou. I think we should call you that now. It's so cute. For helping make this whole panel a reality and thinking it through. And yeah, it's really, I love doing it. I'm really happy about it. Because I don't think people know about AppTech Gallery, and we've been around 5 years already, which I can't get over. Yeah. So AppTech Gallery is quite simply an online gallery, a virtual gallery, actually virtual gallery where you can walk around in your avatar body in a 3D space in a massively multiplayer online world called Second Life and look at artworks much the way you might when you're walking around in a gallery such as the one across the plaza from us and at the Ellen over there. How it came about is that I was working in this massively multiplayer online world, making these machinima things and these machinimagraph things that Hans mentioned, so customizing avatars and creating environments, and really loving it and thinking about it also as a place where people could come and visit one another, come and talk to one another. An indigenously determined space that could be a safe space for discussion. And part of AppTech's whole deal is making sure Indigenous people are affecting and contributing to cyberspace, this place where we're all headed, where we're all hanging out these days, this non-physical space where we can interact with one another. And so it's weird to like talk to them and talk to you. And so how it began, though, is here I am working away, making a movie in the machinima, making these environments. And one of my environments that I needed was an art gallery. And so I have these. So I'm not sure where to have my head to be to not do that sound thing.
Do you want to use this mic?
I don't know. Will it do a bad thing? Hello. Okay.
Double mic. Yeah.
So I have some wonderful friends who have some wonderful art, and I simply, this is like in 2013 or even 12, I asked, so what's going to happen now? Before I tell you what I'm about to say, I'd like to tell you that my wonderful assistant, Vanya, not white, but Vanya, like Vanna White. I'm making a little joke, but I don't know if it's going over very well. Anyway, Vanya Ryan, she is showing a video that we took of this first show. But I'm telling you the background now about how the show came about. So here I am making this set in which an art gallery of the 21st century is required. And so I look, I look to my artist friends and think about artworks that would look really good in Second Life. Okay, like that would keep the pretense, like that felt like they belonged in the world. And so I asked Hannah Claus, who I knew had made this incredible sculpture in a 3D program before she made it in the so-called real life, or AFK, or in the physical world. So Hannah's piece is right there. Thank you again, Yawagoa Hannah, once and more. And then there's other ones too. The names of the people, we'll go through them later I don't want to miss anyone, but they're all credited on the Abtec Gallery website. So anyway, like I said, I asked them all, they all graciously agreed to let me, they all sent me images that I could upload into Second Life and put them on the wall and make it look like their artworks are on the walls. And that was it. I filmed my scene and I went on with life. And then 2020 and the pandemic happened. And suddenly all these people are saying that they have an online gallery, come and see this online art show. And I'm like so interested and excited and thinking, God, how did they do that so fast? And then I go and it's a website, which is great, and that's fine. But I was like, no, we have a gallery. And so Jason Edward Lewis, I think you all know him here, my co-partner, my co-director of Abtec and my co-partner in life, we were like, we never had a vernissage. We have this show with incredible artists right there on our, in Second Life on our island. Why don't we ask them if we can show it as a proper show? And we'll start this project called Abtec Gallery because it's the pandemic, man, and like we have art to show. So everyone agreed. It was wonderful. We finally paid them a little tiny artist fee, and we had this opening. And people came, and it was very fun. That was the beginnings. I could keep going on. I'll just say a couple more things, actually. The next thing that happened is Sage Paul and Lisa Myers approached me, two Indigenous artists, cultural people, Sage Paul being the founder of Indigenous Fashion Week Toronto. And Indigenous Fashion Week Toronto had planned to have a gallery exhibition of fashion art, basically. And Sage had no idea about Second Life or anything that I'd been doing, whereas Lisa had been following my work and we'd been in conversation for years. So, she calls me up. I can't remember who called me first, but I think it was Sage. She was like, we just want to know what is possible. What could we even possibly do to show this show anyways? And so I was like, well, why don't you come and see our gallery in Second Life? Like, this is all just happening perfectly aligned as though we planned it. So they come in, and it's really cute because Lisa had been in Second Life. She'd been to Abtec Island, but Sage was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, you're really cutting edge, you guys. And I'm just like, oh, it's so cute because so many people think Second Life is such old technology. So it was really fun. And that was when we discovered or thought up that we could have their show in Second Life. We just had to transmediate the works. We just had to figure out how to bring them in world. We could have just taken pictures of all the works and put it on the wall, but we wanted to think about how could they be shown in a virtual space, more interestingly, or how can we adapt it to the virtual space so that we exploit the advantages of virtual space, and minimize, and overcome some of the limitations of physical space.
I don't know if folks were able to join us late last year with the IFRC and the FOFA Gallery. We were able to collaborate on this talk called Nation to Nation at 30 that brought in members of the Indigenous collective, Nation to Nation. And it was really wonderful because it showed just, that you've been thinking about Indigenous cyberspace and online, just thinking about Cyber Powwow, for instance, this project that brought people together online. It's something you've been working towards for a very long time. And just getting back to the pandemic, I think we can all kind of remember that collective trauma of the early parts of it where, like you mentioned, everything was online and everything was just a website. But I remember logging into the show, reformatted, and actually being able to walk around. And it was my first experience of actually feeling some normality, and all of the care that was actually put into it. I remember you had all these wine glasses that you can walk around as an avatar. Like it was an actual exhibition space. You were able to wander through and experience these works, but also in a very different way. You mentioned transmediating art. For instance, yeah, with this work, with Hannah's work that we're seeing right now, you could actually walk through the piece and maybe even fly. I wonder if you can maybe unpack transmediating art. What does that mean essentially?
Sure. Yeah, and you can walk through the piece and not ruin it like a real human being once did. You can walk with the wine glasses and you can keep, spill the wine. That actually you won't even be able to spill the wine. So it's really great. Well, transmediation, so what I was thinking because we did go over some of these questions before, I thought I would tell you how we go through the process with the artist. So, and I think A Thread That Never Breaks is a great example of how it could happen, because there were so many artists in the show and they all wanted different levels of engagement with the transmediation process. So we had a meeting. First of all, we called a meeting to show them the space, show them what was possible, tell them that some of the incredible strengths of a virtual space is, well, we can paint the walls with the click of a mouse. We can build a wall with 2 clicks, move the wall easily without any, almost no cost. We can make infinite copies. We can grow things really, really big. There's limits. It's not, you can't make a sphere bigger than the world. You can't, there's limits, but as far as putting something in a physical space, it does feel kind of limitless. Like it feels very special. And so here you see, thank you, this is the perfect slide, Vanya. One person, so let me just say first that, so the Pacific Sisters, whose artworks you see in the frames on the back wall, they were like, we don't have the time to do the transmediation process, and clothing is quite difficult to do. It would take a lot of time to transmediate the costumes that they designed into costumes for an avatar to wear. So they're like, you know what? We'll be very happy if you just put our photos that we love onto a wall, into frames. That was the transmediation process there. But then this artist, who, if someone would want to help me, I'm so sorry I'm forgetting the names, but they are everywhere in there because I forget people's names, so we have to write them down. This artist with the tree, they were so interested in coming into Second Life, and if I'm not mistaken, they were the ones who basically ended up doing a residency. They just came in. We had weekly meetings. They came in every week. They taught themselves how to get around in Second Life and do a whole bunch of things. If they didn't know something, they asked us and we helped them. We gave them a budget. In Second Life, you can buy things from the Second Life marketplace with real money. I mean, you use their currency, but it translates to real money. And it's not too expensive. So I think we probably gave them a budget of $20, and that was like thousands of the Second Life money, thousands of dollars. So they were like, hang on, you don't need like a ceiling, right? And we're like, no, we don't have a ceiling actually. We just like to see the sky and we have sunlight coming into the gallery. And she's like, well, could I have a tree? And we're like, yes, you can have a tree. So they planted a tree. Then they also needed a squirrel. They felt so. This was like, we thought they could never have a tree in the physical gallery, and they were so happy to be able to transmediate their piece in this way, taking advantage of the possibility of having a tree in there. So yeah, that's a couple. There's one more. I wouldn't mind mentioning Solomon Enos, who actually gave us a talk here. On June 21st, I believe, or sometime anyway in the summer. He's a Kanaka Maoli, or Native Hawaiian artist, and he was another one who was quite gung-ho, but he wasn't super gung-ho to be in Second Life, but he was teaching himself Blender, which is a 3D modeling program, and he was making sculpture after sculpture after sculpture. And he asked if there was some way that they could, is there some way I can bring these sculptures into Second Life? And we're like, let us do some tests. And we figured out the process, a workflow for him to be able to upload his sculptures into Second Life. And one of our wonderful RAs, Camelia Leishi, she textured them all. So when they were uploaded, when he uploaded them to us, they were just these flat gray things, like you may have seen how 3D models look sometimes when they're just beginning, when they're not finished yet. And she modeled them. She did not model them. She textured them. She put that green stuff on that one, and you'll see when you walk through the gallery, there are all these beautiful textures. She took these beings that he created are all. What he's thinking is that they are plants that have evolved into humanoid form in the future. And so Camelia took from like somewhere free, like Google, I'm sorry, I don't remember where, but all plant textures. And that's what she textured the works with.
Wow. This is quite the production. I'm wondering if maybe you can talk about the team behind AppTech Gallery, because it takes so many folks to create an entire space and to keep it alive.
So if I forget anyone, please somebody help me because, first it takes like Jason Lewis thinking, hey, I know of a grant we can get so that we can pay research assistants to make this happen. So that there's that level going on, and we need someone to direct the space. So to think about what shows make sense in the space, talk to the artists, invite the artists from the first level, and so that's my role at the moment. Very interested in someone else doing that. If that's, I love it, but I really think it could be a fun job for someone who like maybe has an art history thing going on or something like that. So talk to me later if you if that's you. And then we have Nancy Townsend. She has a lot of different titles, but like I'm going to say production manager for this particular part of her job. So Nancy Townsend has been with me working, since the Time Traveler days. So since 2007 or something, she went and had another job for a little while somewhere, but then she's come back to us. She knows Second Life like in a kind of crazy mind meld way. Like she just gets it. And together, but more with her in the lead, we've developed all kinds of sort of tips and tricks and ways of working in Second Life. And so if an artist says, oh, can I have, I don't even know what, can I have cars racing around the roof, which is actually a thing that's going to be happening. She's like, let me see what I can do, and she will find a car, she'll find a car script that can fly and drive, and can it be put into the car that the next person on the team is modeling, so that kind of thing. So yes, we like to have a 3D modeler. Right now we have Taylor MacArthur, I think she's in the room, who's helping us, and an excellent modeler who's made the car based on in the next show coming up, which I'll tell you about later. So 3D modeler is great. And we also have Ishel Janine, who is on our team, who is an assistant curator. Ishel had no clue about Second Life, or 3D modeling or any kind of technical stuff, but she was just super interested. And so, and we talked about it and we figured out what she could do, and she's doing it, and she liaises with the artists. And it turned out that one of the artists, well, we've mentioned her already, Lisa Myers. Lisa Myers has come back to do a residency. Lisa Myers is Anishinaabe, so is Ishel. So they're like talking about like language and how it pertains to cyberspace and just having a nice time. Okay. We also have had, I think that is the gallery team now. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone except for Vanya Ryan, who supports us in many different ways. Also a noob when it comes to Second Life, but so perfect. We needed her to test the cars. We need someone who doesn't know how to do anything. Okay, like when we have gallery visitors come in, are they going to be able to figure it out? Yeah, what do they need to figure it out? So like, do we need to make a poster for them with instructions, or are we just going to have, what are we going to do to help noobs, help people who don't know how to get around otherwise, or use the thing, or interact with the thing?
I'm just thinking, looking at this image of the exhibition We See Far, all the possibilities that you're able to do in cyberspace. I'm curious if maybe there are any favorites. For me personally, I remember from the reformatted exhibition, Margaret Nazon's work, which is a beaded constellation, actually being able to walk. Oh, okay, yeah. But also with this one, with We See Far, Eko Namako's work, which I believe he works with Lego and makes these small sort of buildings or structures. Through Aptech Gallery, you are actually able to go in there and fly around and experience it. Are there any that stand out to you?
Well, that was a fun one because yes, here's this artist who's making these tiny little Lego. He makes some big Lego sculptures too, but the architecture ones are quite small. And yeah, and I was like, Second Life's really good at scale, or virtual is really good at scale, like I said. So he really liked the idea of us making this the right size for an avatar to go in. And there was a fountain inside, and it's called a sacred place, and I don't remember the name of this temple that's in Africa. That's what he modeled this on, and so he and that ancient temple has a fountain, of a water fountain inside of the courtyard. But we were like, well, we could do something that maybe looks like water, or we can do light particles. And he's like, light particles. Yeah, so that was really fun. I don't know. I like them all. I like, I think the ones where they really take advantage of some of the things that the virtual has to offer. But I can't pick a favorite right this second. Sorry.
I wonder if maybe you can help us figure out how do we get to Aptech Gallery? If, as a noob, how do I get my real self into this virtual space?
Well, we thought you might ask that. We thought anyone wanting to come might ask that because it's a big barrier actually for some people to download a new software. This is not a web-based gallery. This is, you have to download this thing. And so we've created the visit page on Aptech Gallery's website. It has cute little friendly, easy to follow instructions when you press play, and I think it's also all written out. And I will now tell you very quickly also, but just so you know, you don't really have to take notes, it's all there. And also, I wish this were not true, but Second Life does not support me in any way. I really wish they gave us money, and I wish I wasn't sounding like an ad for them. But you have to go to secondlife.com and create an account. Once you create an account, you download the software, and then you can log in with the account information you've just created. And there you become, and you are somewhere in that process, you are given some default avatars that you can choose from. Don't worry, you can customize them later. And you choose an avatar which will be your main interface in the world. Then you just log in. You just log in, and now the next challenge is to figure out how to walk around. Most people click their mouse thinking that their avatar will go to where it is, which actually is a setting that you can have if that's what you like. Or you can just press your arrow key, walk around. And it just goes from there. That's at that very basic level, you can see a lot of stuff, but then there's interacting with objects in the world, and you can figure out how to, basically click on something, right click, left click, open up another menu so that you can interact with the thing. And then you can start building if you like. Yeah.
But you also you live stream the vernissages, which not just on Facebook live stream, but also I think YouTube and Instagram, or that's a process, I believe. So you do make these sort of gathering events. And yeah, could you maybe speak about the next one that's coming up and how people can join and when?
Yes, I think we have all these. I'm just so awful at dates. Is the date written down here somewhere? Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so the next show is a solo exhibition by an artist named Morgan Zoe. Our friend Davis Heslop, who was a partner when we were doing the Initiative for Indigenous Futures project, he wrote to me or something and was like, you gotta check out this artist. He is so perfect for Abtech Gallery. And he was. And so Morgan Zoe draws pictures of the res in the year 2222. And the show will be called 2222. Yeah, I love the title. Hang on. I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong. But except I've got to take off my glasses and I can't see you. All right. 2222 High-Res Indian, the cyberpunk smoke signals of Morgan Zoe. So I just love that crazy freaking title, or freaking crazy title. And yes, we have a vernissage every time. So this will be taking place this Thursday, February 6th at 1:30. So if you do want to join, I recommend you get started about a half an hour earlier, or even earlier. And if you need help, email us. We even put our phone number, I think. Well, we used to have phones. I think we don't have one anymore, eh? Concordia's getting rid of all the phones. Anyway, we would love to help you over Zoom, over phone, any of the channels available to us to get you in the door, because once you cross that barrier, it's much easier to come back again. And so, yes, and what we do too for fun is the show is there. We have, I will introduce the show and the artist. The artist will speak a little bit. Nancy Townsend will explain to you how to interact with the interactable so that you can have a little sip of champagne or other beverage, depending on what the artist asks for. We also have treats and often dancing. We have there's a dance ball that you can touch and makes your avatar dance in like these really great moves. And so we play some music and dance around a little bit, and it's very silly and very enjoyable. So thank you for asking, and if I've missed anything.
No, I think you've covered. I guess people can also attend Abtech Gallery or go after the vernissage too, right?
Abtech Gallery is open 24/7. So yeah, you can go anytime. You don't need a chaperone or a guide. But yeah, and so I think, yeah. But it's just fun when other people are there. Often, like, people tell me they go to the island, but they don't ever see anyone. And that is actually my experience throughout Second Life. Wherever I go, nobody seems to be there. Even though when you log on, there's like a little number that says how many people are in the world at any one time. And it's always like around 40,000 people. But I don't know where they all are.
Maybe we'll take some time to see if there's any questions from the audience, if there's anything you want us to expand on or hear more about from Skawennati. Anyone? Or from online? We'll have another chance to do questions too.
We have a question right here.
Perfect.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Also, congratulations. Awesome. Really cool. You guys have a gallery. Like, that's pretty cool. So as a gallery, do you guys do calls for exhibitions?
We haven't. Like, so we're not, we're not funded by the Canada Council or anything. We're funded by the social, actually, no. Jason, can you say which one?
Looking for funders.
I thought our funding only ran out in April. It already ran out? Yeah, so we're looking for funders. We're carrying this gallery, so we get to do whatever we. We've applied to the Quebec, Yes. And so actually what we've done is we've asked, of course these applications usually go in with partners, like co-investigators and all these terms that I should know and never do, but collaborators and so on. And we've asked them to think up projects. So that's how we're doing it. But yeah, but like if someone is very, very interested, you can contact me, and there's, depending on if you're willing to work for free like I am. Well, I'm not working for free right now. Sorry, that wasn't cool. But I mean, depending on how you, we do pay artist fees, but right now there isn't money for an artist fee. But if there's someone who wants to do a project, hit me up.
Cool. Awesome.
Any other questions or offers for funding?
Yeah, we have a question on Zoom.
So this is a question from Morningstar, and they ask, when you're in the virtual space, is there an explanation of the art portrayed by the artist, or is it purely by interpretation of the participants passing through?
Thank you for asking. Actually, we create what's called a note card. It's a thing in Second Life, so that you can, and we usually try to explain this. I'm not sure where it's explained. Anyway, I'm trying to look at the person online, so it's very strange. Hi. Basically, in all the shows, you'll see this little text hovering. Basically, you can click on the image and you will get a note card. You will get a text that explains the artwork. In certain cases, we don't explain every single artwork. Like in Morgan Zoe's upcoming show, he has dozens of drawings. So we decided we weren't going to make a note card for each drawing, but we are making a note card that talks about all the drawings as a whole. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, well, maybe we're gonna swap and start the second part of this panel. We're so excited to bring in Destiny Chescappio. Big round of applause. I'm gonna head out.
I'll let her, yeah. Thank you. No, I'm going to start, but we're going to just wait a second because, oh, there you are, Morgan. I thought I would be able to see you over there. Is that true? I won't be able to see him over there. Oh,
Hello.
hi, nice to see you. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Good, good. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Did you hear the last part when I was talking about your show?
Yeah, it was a beautiful statement. Thank you so much for your kind words. It was really good.
Thank you for your art. It's been fun working with you. Okay, so I'm going to
Can't wait.
introduce each of these wonderful artists with their bio, and then they're each going to take actually, maybe I'll introduce Destiny and you talk, then I'll introduce Morgan and he'll talk. Is that okay? Okay. Destiny, whose last name I still haven't learned, Chescappio?
Yeah.
She, her, is a member of the Skawennati nation of, also have not learned to say,
Skawennati.
thank you, mixed with Algonquin from Kitigan-Zibi, and is currently an undergraduate in the Specialization in Computation Arts program at Concordia University's Fine Art Department. Through 3D art, animation, graphic design, and digital painting, she explores the themes of Indigenous futurism, combining the complexities of historical, modern, and futuristic topics. And I believe you have a little presentation?
Yes.
Please press play.
Yes, so I'm gonna personally introduce myself. My name is Destiny Brennan Chescappio. I grew up in the northern community in the Skawennati nation of Skawennati all my life. In the school, Jimmy Stanley Memorial School. For the first couple of years, moving to Montreal, I attended LaSalle College in the Communications, Arts, and Literature program. So that's where it all started, where I started dipping my feet into Adobe Photoshop with basic graphic design as a sort of like a hobby. And later I started doing commissions for like the Indigenous rap group called Violent Ground. I started doing like album covers, posters. So later, when COVID began, I began digital painting with Adobe Photoshop. And so I just started like experimenting with like artistic expressions of like combining my Indigenous culture in digital art. So later down the line, fast forward, as Skawennati said, I'm in Concordia in the computational arts program, just finishing my semester, so thank God for that. So yeah, that's a recent self-portrait of myself. In the future, I'm Resborg, so I'll later discuss that terminology later. So in my artistic practice, my interest in combining my Indigenous culture with digital art really began with creative thinking and like how would I apply these both themes of like Indigenous culture and digital art, and why would I blend them both? Why not make them one? So having said blending, both can create a form of depth in my research creation. It also like led me to think about not only for my people, but for myself as a human being, and to think about the future. And so I really thought about how might I incorporate my personal experiences as living in the res, as not just an Indigenous artist, but as a human being, to make an impact based on a culture I grew up in, which is res culture. It basically what made me who I am today, a resilient and also hopeful for the future. And that's why I'm displaying this self-portrait I made. And so I started my research with baby steps. I started finding like my tribe's cultural traditions and histories of the sort of designs that was displayed in these historic garments. And later I started defining them and later teaching them to the youth and the artists in residence back home up north in Jimmy Sandy Memorial School. Also, when it came to research creation, in one of the Concordia courses I took, that's when I really dove into the themes of res culture and Indigenous futurism by blending traditions and current issues. So it was a way to communicate through a sort of medium that I just fell in love with, which is digital painting. And later it turned into like 3D art, which I'll discuss later. So basically Resborgs was born when I wanted to be able to communicate the importance of living in like the res, basically up north, where it's like, you know, isolated and you're just living in the res and experiencing it. So in my research creation course, I ran into like the colonial aspect of what the settlers thought the future would be without Indigenous people, because they thought, you know, we would go extinct. So they started romanticizing us into this image of like very romanticized, like the Indian in a painting looking all stoic. But then I wanted to subvert that sort of ideology by switching it like a, how do you say, a sort of like playing card you switch. And I'm like, you know what? I can romanticize my own future. So that's how Resborgs came about. I thought, why not just depict it in my own way? So at Resborgs, as you see, they're half human and half robot. So I wanted to create a statement with the Res's themes of survival and resilience with how we look today. And it's like kind of like urban style mixed with like a resi style, very laid back. And that's how I perceived us. It's like, you know, who we are today, the present Indigenous person, we're just as valuable as we were before. So that's what I want people in the future to look at. There's a second one, the res uncle. And then there's like the young cousin that like hangs out with you. And then there's like the tradish cousin that goes to these powwows and stuff. And that's how like my res culture and Indigenous futurism really started with the Resborgs. And so again, with like research creation, you really have to dig your feet into what you're experiencing with, like, I don't know, there's a picture of me doing a moose hide workshop, going hunting, being in the land, and really hanging on to that, you know, value of survival and resilience. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what I wanted to incorporate in my work. And that's how res punk came about. Basically, it stemmed from res borgs, that ideation of what the land would look like with Indigenous resilience, which stems from my experience in the res. And so in this research, in the academia and personal experience, res punk is an environment I created for viewers to experience the values of res cultures in these eyes of experiencing like simplistic, like go as simple as like going to powwows, the backyard activities you'd find in your neighborhood's house. You're hanging out with cousins, attending moose hide workshops, eating traditional food, going to local shops and doing beadwork workshops. And all of that combined, those simple activities that you do in the res, isolated communities, because that's all you got to survive and like keep the culture strong, that basically accumulates over time, and that's what I call a res culture. And that's what I wanted to bring those values into the future, and that's what created it, was res punk. So with res punk, I created with the 3D software called Blender, and did texturing with, among other applications. So that's one of the scenes. Like you see, there's like a powwow circle with those like white tents you find at a powwow. And then here is the moose hide workshop. It's a very dark like setting, but here I really want to highlight how like this sort of experience in like moose hide workshops and the res culture is very raw, and that's what I wanted to highlight and put this like sort of stretched out skin. And so that is actually the texture I found. I was like researching different ways of creating that same texture, and I actually took an image of like a raw hide, and I just traced it out and made it my texture. And here's like another creative process of the moose hide I did. I added like fur. I made it into like a very heavy cloth in Blender. And that's like one of like the screenshots I did of like the creative process before I added like the fancy textures and stuff. And also here's another shot of one of the scenes. This one is called Eo Medium. It's like a little food trailer thing that you find like maybe in the future you're gonna go get some traditional food. Eo Medium, like in my culture, that's what it's called. You just go get some nice caribou meat or bannock or whatever. And here's the video that is going to play. There should be a play button at the bottom. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's supposed to be a sound, but I don't know if it's working. But you could find it on my YouTube channel if anyone's wondering. A faint sound, I suppose. So that's where you get your beats. So yeah, that was res punk and a bit of like my artistic practice in res culture, and I'll hand the mic to Skawennati.
Yawa. Thank you. We will save the questions for after Morgan Zoe's. Morgan, would you? I think you're going to tell them. I think you're going to tell them about yourself, because everyone seems to be wanting to say their own name. So I'm just going to tell them this part: that you have a visual art diploma. You're a graduate from Northwestern Polytechnic, located in Grand Prairie, Alberta, You combine sci-fi themes and tropes with Native American aesthetics and values centered in your artwork. And you're currently living and working in the North. So
Yes, that's right.
tell them a little bit more about yourself and your work, please.
Hi, my name is Morgan Zoe. I am from Michigan, Northwest Territories, and I've been drawing since I was a little kid. And when I got when I graduated high school, I wanted to do art right away, but life happened, and you got to make money to survive up here. So uh, I went to work for a little bit in my 20s and realized I didn't I didn't want to be like some dude working at the mines or anything or be stuck in a job. So art has always been around my life ever since I was a kid. I've always been good at drawing and painting. And then uh, I was working this one time at Snap Lake Mine and I saw James Woodson. He's the other artist from Bishiko, and he was doing a mural on a canvas at Snap Lake Mine in 2009. And then I was like, I can do that too. Like I have that same ability and I can do that too. And then he kind of inspired me a way to go back to school in my 20s, and that's what I did. I went back to school in my 20s, and yeah, I got through this concept by going back to school, and I did a lot of things with my life, and this is one of the things that I'm proud of, that I stuck with it throughout my whole life. I'm 37 right now, and I'm happy that I'm living as an artist while also being a water truck driver and providing an income for my family. But my main goal has always been art throughout my whole life. And one thing that I stumbled on was when I was going to school was a whole bunch of Sid Mead drawings. And he's a futurist that helped visualize the art of Blade Runner. And I was thinking to myself, what can I do? You know what I mean? Like, how can I take my art to the next level? So I combine indigenous cultures and fuse them with sci-fi tropes and created something new. Like back in my hometown, we have something called to be strong like two people. And what that means is like not only knowing yourself, but also looking ahead to the future and knowing the modern world. So you have one foot in the past, knowing who you are, and then you have one foot in the future, so you know where you're going. And being strong like two people, that's a philosophy that the Clincho people have maintained since the 70s, since Chief Jimmy Bruno said those profound words. And he wanted a school in Bishikon, so we stopped sending our kids out to residential schools. And his words have had a profound impact on not only my people, but also my art, because the way I think about it is like, how am I going to create something new when everything has already been done? You know what I'm saying? So I just look at my life and combine it with what I love. It's movies, sci-fi movies, and indigenous aesthetics and values, and you combine them together, and you get something completely new and organic and beautiful. And this is what I want to share the world with. And I call it the blurring of the line, where flesh and machine will be integrated together, but like not right now. It's going to take a couple hundred years. We're at the beginning stages right now. Like we're already part machine. We already got glasses. We have manufactured clothes. We have manufactured houses. Everything that we have is customized as human beings. Our environment is customized. So inevitably, our hands, our eyes, our ears, teeth, everything's going to be customized. And it already is to a degree. You got artificial teeth. You have hearing aids. You got artificial limbs. So we're kind of living it right now, but like in a primitive stage, and in a couple hundred years, it's going to ramp up in terms of nanotechnology and the interconnectivity of everyone in the world being connected with each other. So that's where my art is going. And one thing I love is cyberpunk takes you there. And there's other areas in which we as a people we can explore. But I think cyberpunk is like the best path for humanity because like we can visit the stars with that. And like the way I live it in the north, and I live on the res. And I wanted to combine what I see in my life and where I think the people of the north will go. So I'm giving them I'm giving people a glimpse into that, and I want to share that with everybody.
All right. Want to stop there and we'll move into some questions from me to both of you? Do you feel good about that, Morgan?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So yes, let's clap for him. Morgan, do you, maybe we didn't get any pictures prepared, and I think you're on your phone, maybe? So what if we tell people to go, can you tell them your Instagram so that they can look at pictures while we're talking? Because you got to see his work. It's really wonderful. It's pencil-based, like pencil drawings, pencil color drawings, which one of the things I really love. So tell them, you do that, please, and then I'll keep talking.
Okay. My Instagram is Morgan Zoe Artists, and it's just all one word.
And Zoe is Z-O-E.
Yeah.
Morganzoe, artist.
Artists, yeah. And I usually upload my art. I don't upload all of it because I don't want it stolen. So I just have a certain amount of art there. And most of my art that I have about like 45 drawings in the art gallery. And you guys should check it out. It's a glimpse into the future of what I think could happen.
Yeah, so one thing that's really interesting about these two artists is they're both thinking about the res in the future, as we've seen. And I actually hadn't seen your Resborg stuff, so I didn't know about that. I only knew about Res Punk.
Surprise.
So I think, so there's a few things I'd love to talk about in like a kind of compare and contrast, but not too hard. You're using what I see as like a futuristic medium or technology to make your stuff. And you're using, Morgan, your hands, that very, let's say old school, for lack of a better word, kind of medium. Can you each tell me why you've chosen that medium and how you think it fits or doesn't fit with your subject matter? Who wants to start?
I could start.
Great.
My style has this realistic comic book style, and it's always been prevalent throughout my artwork because of how I was influenced growing up. Like my uncle would draw Spider-Man drawings, and he have like a whole bunch of Spider-Man comic books and drawings in his room back at grandma's house back when I was like, like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. And I was totally inspired by that because if uncle could do that, I could do that too. And I always had that mentality, and how my mom and dad said like I can do anything if I put my mind to it. And I have talents in other things, but art has always been like a huge talent that I couldn't ignore throughout my life. It's just always been there, and I used it not only to like improve my life, but to extend ideas to other people so they can like expand their mind. And this is like one of those things that I could use to not only expand my mind, but expand your mind into seeing like what the future can hold if we like, go there together, you know what I mean? But if we're like not together, that's not a future we're going to get. So if we all are interconnected and all on the same page, then we can get there together for sure. And it's a possible future that is is the best one in my opinion, where we grow with machines instead of machines growing us. You know what I'm saying? Like the way we live right now is also indicative of that. Like well, like each of us is eating like kings compared to someone that's living in the Renaissance era, like a peasant. Like if you compare your diet to a peasant from back then, like you're eating like a king right now. And just wait till what the future holds and how technology can unlock a future that will not only be beholden to us, but like we can be proud of.
Destiny.
Oh, hello. Okay. So for me, like going back to your question, I remember when, well, honestly, I started somewhere. I am like considered a traditional artist because I also had, you know, drawings and pencil drawings and like that's how I started basically. And so for some reason when I got into digital painting, I thought about it and like it basically almost is the same technique and skill that what it takes for digital painting. 3D art is a different story for those of you know. So for me, like with digital painting, when you're painting per pixel. And the way I saw it from an indigenous perspective, it's almost as if I was like making a beadwork digitally. So like per pixel, I was like considering that. And yeah, and also like for me, it's just more feasible in my practice, like to have like something digital and to keep it, like there's digital footprint obviously, but also to make sense of it, I guess like with digital painting and 3D art, I wanted to do something different with my indigenous cultural aspect to it and sort of like bring that futuristic medium in onto the table and just give what I'm trying to like portray basically. So yeah.
Thank you. You know, I thought of something when I was writing the blurb for your work, Morgan, which was that well-known saying by William Gibson, you know, the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. And I was thinking about you talking about how you still don't have a railway up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to, I wanted to hear your thoughts on, I don't have a great question lined up on that, but I just wanted you to maybe respond to that idea.
Technological progression has always been accompanied by like economic prosperity. So if we have like the United States was its wealth is built on trains and you know and what happened in 1865 Civil War and whatever. But yeah, their wealth was based on that. And when the industrial era happened in the United States, the cotton gin just replaced like, you know, a 50-man team into one machine. You know what I mean? So even with these technological progressions, it not only advances society, but it also advances the economy. But like and the culture all at the same time. If we don't have a train system in the north, we're going to be heavily reliant on personal vehicles, airplanes, and our economy is just going to stay the same. Like if we don't have a train system in the north, uh, we're not going to progress on any level. We're just going to be another resource extraction state where we have nothing. And a train system not only builds our economy but builds our culture. If my community had a train system that linked all four communities, not only that is culturally significant, but it's also is going to boost our economy at least 2 to 4 times. You know what I mean? Imagine paying $20 for one ton of like material that you can bring from Bishikon all the way to Skawennati, and that's so there's 4 communities in where I'm from. I'm part of Klincho government. I'm a citizen of Klincho government, and there's 4 communities within the lands of Klincho government. There's Bishikon, that's the capital, and then Wati, Skawennati, and then Wikwati. And if all 4 of those communities are connected on a train system, not only will like everyone be looking at us, the whole territory will be inspired. Where like Bishikon has their own train system, how come we don't have them? And then I don't like Yellowknife that much. like it, as natives, we have a nickname for it. It's called Sumbake, which literally translates into the money place. Not Nizike, like the good place. It's called the money place because you just go there for money. And I always think that Yellowknife always sells people short. And you know that episode in The Simpsons, monorail, monorail, monorail.
No.
That's what's gonna happen to Yellowknife. Like they're gonna be scammed with a monorail system. Well, Bishiko has like the real train system, and Yellowknife has always been like that. Always been shortchanging people and always putting money first instead of people. And they like Yellowknife is kind of misguided in a way because they don't understand that the Sumbake nickname is derogatory in general, but they don't think like that. They just oh, the natives gave us a name. It's called Sumbake. Let's name the park Sumbake Park, the money place park. So that's just where their priorities are, and I try to combine humor with my futurism takes. Well, I have this idea that Yellowknife is going to build a casino in the future, and it's going to happen within 40, 50 years for sure. It's going to happen within my lifetime, I think.
I think so too. All right, I want to know how we're doing for time. Great. Okay, so I actually wanted to ask you a question, Destiny. I want to know why you came to Concordia.
Why I came to Concordia was also my older sister went to Concordia, so I was inspired by her, and I saw that they really specialize into like the arts. And so like as a kid, I always wanted to go to school for the arts and like further my career and my practice. I didn't know I would end up in computational arts. I just saw that it was computer art and, well, I'm gonna go do some digital painting, but I did way more than that, you know, like coding and 3D art. So yeah, I think it's sort of like a mutual thing where it's like they specialize in that and I'm like, that's great, so I just went with it. Yeah.
What would be your ideal outcome after you get, like, where would you like to go with what you've learned from Concordia and in your life in general, in your arts?
Yeah, honestly, I'd really like to establish myself as like an artist that practices and like does shows and stuff. But I'd also like to continue this journey and studying in like res culture and indigenous futurism, and like not only like working hard for myself, but also inspiring the youth up north of letting them know that there is like a sort of future with digital art. And that's the thing, like with northern communities, they don't really expose you to like these sorts of opportunities, and it's very isolated. And obviously like different vocational jobs, like working as like a carpenter and a miner and being like a nurse is all needed, but also like you should go like for your passion and make your own future by being in the res.
And then my final question to each of you is, what is next for you? We'll go for Destiny first this time.
So stemming from that, what's going to be next is I will be graduating, and later I want to focus on my practice, get more opportunities, continue to work with skins. I really like it there. For myself, I'd like to
Destiny is an instructor in our
Yes.
Skins program, Skins workshops on Indigenous storytelling and digital media.
Yes, it's a tongue twister for sure. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I really like Skins is because they mainly almost have the same goals as what I set up for like my artistic practice, which is like trying to inspire the youth with like digital art, and that there's like more of a medium for them to actually control and handle and express with Indigenous culture. But yeah.
Awesome. And you, Sir Morgan, when you're done this show, what are you next working on?
Well, I'm working on a novel. I'm at 5,000 words, and usually a novel ends at around 100,000 words. So I'm like 5% there. But my end goal for all my artwork is a movie or a TV show or a video game or a comic book. If I can create any of those things, I'll be happy because it's something I can pass down to my kids, to my cousins, to my family, to my community. Like, I want to show everyone that you can go to school and you can make it if you really try, if you have talent, because there's nothing worse than wasted talent. You know what I mean? Just couch surfing. I don't want that for anyone. And I want to inspire the upcoming generations. And this work is part of that.
Awesome. All right, I would like to open up to any further questions directed at the artist or at myself if you thought of something in the meantime. Oh, yes, and I think what's happening? Oh yes, there's a mic for people in the audience. Please use it so that those online can hear it. And there, Jobina in the front would like to ask a question.
Oh, well, not really a question, just a comment, Morgan. Yeah, I really liked the image that was shown of the native couple in the old-fashioned car, and I was just like really watching it, and I'm like, well, I have a background in art history, so I was like, there's no differentiation with the past and the future, and I really like that because you're touching on this idea that we were always here. So I really like that drawing. I think it's cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was inspired by that drawing by the natives that struck oil in Montana back in the 1920s. They really resonated with me and how they had this unforeseen wealth that is just unprecedented, that they never had before, and then they were it at that time period, and they had the best of both worlds. They had the height of their culture and the height of 1920s technology, which was the automobile that came out at mass production at Henry Ford's plants and all over the United States. I wanted to not only highlight the technological growth, but also our growth as a people. And that picture just stood out to me and was begging me to like recreate it and put my little spin on it. And I try to find images like that in the world and just put my spin on it so I can inspire you. And if my job as an artist is to not only inspire you, but to like make you feel something. So if I did that, I did my job. Thank you.
Nice.
We actually have 2 questions from online. So this first question is for Destiny. What was the most challenging when thinking about the future of your culture and its evolution with technology and trying to incorporate that when visualizing res punk?
Um, I think I wouldn't say most difficult, but like I guess it was a thought that went in the back of my head was that what I was trying to like portray in Res Punk was like the essence of resilience and survival and not the literal experience of living in the res. Because like from my experience and people who lived on the res can relate is that there are unfortunate experience with like the housing crisis or the water issues, boil advisories, the health issues. And that's what really, I guess I would say like it was a thought in the back of my head, but at the same time, through that, that should not really define who we are, and it should not define what the future holds for us, because we're way stronger than that. And we, like, despite of that, that's why we're resilient, and that's why there's a survival in living in the res and accumulation of like a culture, a res culture. And yeah, I think that was one of the things that was a sort of challenge. And I wanted to really like separate that from what I was trying to like say in Res Punk.
Thank you. And there's a part two to this question. How do you see the Indigenous perspective changing with the future living in the res with technology?
Could you repeat that? Sorry.
How do you see the Indigenous perspective changing with the future in the res with technology?
So with like perspectives, I guess like it is changing over time, and I see like my community making better changes for the youth and for the future, and continuing to practice the culture and traditions. And there's also like, I guess, a futuristic technology where they learn this sort of value and preciousness of traditions and culture from other tribes, that they too are practicing it. And I guess in a way, technology, the viewpoint of technology has changed, and it's actually like a tool that reminds us that we're all in this together, and we're bringing this sort of res culture to the future. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions in the audience? Okay, if not, we have one more on Zoom.
Great. So I think we have time for this one last question. And this question is for Morgan. What is the most difficult for you when creating art as a passion to share with others and trying to also keep safe the value of your work when showcasing to the public?
Oh, that's a hard question. You got to find something that you're good at, and you can't be good at everything at once. Whatever you find that you're good at, keep sharpening that knife until like you're super sharp that you can cut through anything. Man, that's the way like you go through it. Like I've been drawing and painting my whole life since I was a kid, and I just kept at it. Like I can draw you in 10 minutes. That's how good I am. Like I can sketch you out. I could be a police sketch artist if I want. But it's all about what you choose to do and what your discipline is and how good your discipline is. Like I can't force you to be good. You have to go there yourself. You have to figure out who you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. When you answer those questions, most of your art is already done. You just have to put pen to paper, stylus to screen, anything. Whatever you find that you're good at, stick with it and take it to the next level. That's what I did. I was good in my 20s as an artist, but I became better after I went to school because I had 2.5 years dedicated to my art, sharpening all my skill sets and figuring out ideas and going where I needed to go next. School was such a big help. Shout out to all my teachers: Tina Martell, Doug Willis, Ken Houseco, Ken Lumbus, all those guys. Shout out to all those guys. Some of them are retired. So shout out to all those guys, because if I didn't go to school, I wouldn't be able to take my skills to the next level. And being there is really helped me. Like, I was able to be guided to do stuff, and I needed time to expand my skill sets. And that's what you need. You need time to expand your skill sets. And that's where at school I figured out how to blend Indigenous aesthetics and values with sci-fi tropes and themes, because that to me, that's my bread and butter, and I found it. So you need to go out in the world and find what you're good at and find your bread and butter, and that's it. Like, you got to find who you are, for sure.
Amazing. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for being such wonderful listeners, and thank you for being such wonderful interlocutors. I used it in a sentence.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. We're going to take a short break and be back for our last panel of the day, Community in the Center, Indigenous Ways of Doing Research. So for everyone online and those of you in the space, thank you for your questions and contributions. We're going to be closing the live stream, but those of you in the Zoom, you can just stick around and we'll be getting started again in about 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone.